Okay, hi you guys. So we're going to be looking at our first section tonight for homework, and this is going to be review for most of us from 5th grade. But what essentially we're looking at today is we're going to be looking at numerical expressions and factors. And in this chapter, we're going to be looking at whole number operations, we're going to be looking at powers and exponents, we're going to be looking at order of operations, we're going to be looking at prime factorization and determining how do we break numbers down into their prime factors. From there, that leads us into finding the greatest common factors of two or more numbers, as well as least common multiple. So one of the things that we're looking at in expressions is we have essentially 4 different operations. We're looking at multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Now, each of those, the answers to each one of those types of problems has a specific name. And multiplication we know is the product. The answer to a division problem is the quotient. The answer to an addition problem is the sum. And the answer to a subtraction problem we know as the difference. Now, multiplication can come at us in a lot of different forms. One of the forms it comes at is whenever you have a letter and a number next to each other, or 2 letters next to each other, and there's not an operation sign in between those 2 terms, okay, that is multiplication. We can also have a times b, and a times b can be represented by a dot right in between the 2 variables, or numbers, or a variable and a number, or we can have our multiplication sign, which we are very familiar with. Division. A fraction is a division problem. That is our numerator being divided by our denominator. And then when we look at a traditional like long division problem, as you guys saw a lot of last year, we're looking at like the little house kind of a thing. Okay, where our numerator goes inside the house as our dividend, because our dividend is being divided by our divisor to give us a quotient. We also see the typical A division sign B. Addition can also be signified as total. When you're looking for the total of 2 or more things, you're looking for the addition operation there. Also, when you're looking at things that are all together, that's addition as well. Subtraction can be seen as the difference. Anything that is less than is subtraction, or we have A minus B. All right, so in this slide, we're looking at a bar graph that shows the attendance of a 3-day festival. You can see day 1 is 2,570 people, day 2 is 3,145 people, day 3 is 3,875 people. So our first question is, what is the total attendance for the art festival? Well, there's that word total, and we know that total means addition. So if we're looking for the total attendance, we're going to add up day 1 plus day 2 plus day 3, and that's going to give us 9,591 people. Then we might have a question that says, what is the increase from day 1 to day 2? Which means there were a different amount of people from day 1 to day 2. Different means difference. So what we have to do is we have to look at how many more people are there on day 1 than there were on day 2. Sorry, day 2 than there were day 1, which means that we're going to be using subtraction. So 3,145 minus 2,570 gives us a total of 575 more people attended on day 2. When we're looking at multiplication with whole numbers, a school lunch contains 12 chicken nuggets. If there were 95 students that bought lunch that day, how many chicken nuggets total? Well, we have 12 per container and 95 containers because of 95 students, so we're going to multiply 12 times 95. When we go through and we start looking at double-digit multiplication, remember, we always drop the ones place and carry our tens over to the next, and then we add it on. So 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. Then when we go to our tens place, now we're multiplying 12 times 90. We're always drop the 0 into that ones place because now we're dealing with 90, not 9. So we have to move over to the tens place. And 9 times 2 is 18, drop our 8, carry our 1. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Now we have 2 partial products. 60 is a partial product and 1,080 is a partial product. When we add them together, we get a total of 1,140 chicken nuggets. All right. One of the last things we're going to look at with whole number operations is division. Okay, so if we have a 301 foot high swing at an amusement park, it can take up to 64 people on each ride. A total of 8,983 people rode the swing today, or will ride the swing today. How many rides are full? Which means that we need to figure out how many times 64 can go into 8,983. That will tell us the amount of full rides. Then we have some people left over for the very last ride. So what we're going to do is we're going to be looking for the quotient, and we know that the quotient means to divide. So in our long division, we're going to go through this very quickly. 64 goes to 89 one time, 1 times 64 is 64. Subtract, bring down our 8. And 64 goes into 258 4 times. 4 times 64 is 256. When we subtract that, we get 2, and 64 can't go into 2, so we bring down our 3 to get 23. Now, 64 cannot go into 23, so we have to put a 0 up there at the top. Then we can multiply 64 times 0, get 0, we bring it down, and we get a remainder of 23, which means that there were 140 full rides and a remainder of 23. And that's it for today. So we will look at a little bit of work on that tonight and tomorrow, and star powers and exponents tomorrow. See you guys.